It all began in 1917, when three children who were cousins, named Lucia, Jacinta and Francisco, went the field sending sheep in the area of Cova da Ira. Suddenly, in the middle of the morning, it began to rain. The children had to seek shelter to avoid getting wet. Following the flock of sheep, they began to look for a place to take shelter. Suddenly, they began to see a white light hiding among the trees. They approached and discovered that there was a woman dressed in white, with a rosary in her hands. It was the Virgin Mary. The first contact they had was shocking, since the two girls could see and hear her, while the little boy could only hear her melodious voice, without being able to recognize her physically. Since the occasion in May, Our Lady appeared to them for 5 months. The lady asked one thing of the children. She instructed them to return there on the 13th of each month. The three were astonished and quickly returned to the village to tell what had happened. The children kept the promise they had made to Mary. In fact, they announced more apparitions to their neighbors. They were all on the same day, the 13th, and in the months of June and July. After the second apparition in June, the young people told that Our Lady had announced that two of them, Jacinta and Francisco, would soon die. And so it happened, in December 1918, because of an epidemic of Spanish flu. Francisco and Jacinta fell ill. Months later, in April, Francisco died. Jacinta, on the other hand, got better from the flu, but her health suffered again due to another illness, fulfilling what Our Lady had foretold. She died on February 20, 1920. Therefore, it would later be Lucia who was responsible for passing on the teaching she had learned. In all her apparitions, Our Lady made a special emphasis on the recitation of the Rosary, and asked the children to say after each mystery, "O Jesus, forgive us for our sins. Deliver us from hellfire and lead to heaven all souls, especially those most in need of your divine mercy." The last apparition of Our Lady took place on October 13, 1917. On that day, the so-called miracle of the sun took place, when the Astro King seemed to dance in the sky, to later give the impression that it fell and then returned to its place, before the stupefied sight of 70,000 astonished people who were in the place at that moment. One of those present, Juan de Machi, described that moment as follows. Before the astonished eyes of the crowd, whose appearance was almost biblical, waiting and anxiously looking at the sky, the sun trembled, made unexpected and incredible movements outside all cosmic laws. The sun danced, according to a typical expression of the people. According to several witness statements, after the whistle, the sun cast a different light than usual. Some of the people present thought it was the end of the world. In addition, some witnesses reported that the ground and clothes, which were wet from the rain, had miraculously dried instantly. A fact that was witnessed by thousands of people who, attracted by what the children told, decided to go to that place to verify that what the young people told them was true. Since then, the Catholic Church has accepted as of supernatural and divine origin the apparitions of the Virgin of Fatima that took place in 1917, together with the revelations or secrets that she made known to the three little shepherds. These are three messages considered to be premonitory, with the content that was eventually fulfilled. St. John Paul II explained that the visions of Fatima are private revelations whose purpose is to help us live more fully according to the teachings of Christ. In August 1941, Sister Lucia revealed two of the secrets. The third secret was delivered in an envelope to the Vatican in 1957. Pope John Paul II made it public in May 2000, which we will explain. In our manifestations, the little girl exposed the messages that the Holy Presence had left them, which were considered as premonitory, and that with the passage of time became a reality. These revelations were considered as an orientation to live in peace and harmony, according to the wishes of Christ and the Almighty. According to Lucia's account, on July 13, 1917, in the cave of Hira, Our Lady told them what is known as the Fatima prophecy. This prophecy is made up of three messages. The Holy See made them all known during the pontificate of St. John Paul II. The writings indicate that Our Lady emphasized the importance of praying the Rosary for the conversion of souls. In addition, she also requested the construction of a chapel at the site of the events. The first prophecy is associated with the Russian Revolution. Since the month of February in Russia, events were unfolding that ended in November, with Lenin as president of the Soviet Union. The children said they had seen a vision related to hell, perhaps as a kind of message of the dramas that would befall mankind if they did not repent of their sins. That's what's going to happen even if World War I ended. Shortly afterwards, in July 1917, Our Lady asked that humanity, and especially Russia, consecrate itself to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. If my requests are heard, Russia will convert and have peace. If not, it will spread its errors throughout the world, promoting wars and persecutions of the Church. In addition, this revelation may also be currently tied up with the government of Vladimir Putin, in which this 2022 drew the world's attention for its attempt to invade Ukraine and is currently in conflict with this nation. The second secret relates a truly shocking war prophecy. The war will end, but if they do not stop offending God, in the reign of Pius XI, a worse one will begin, because of his crimes by means of war, hunger and persecutions of the Church and the Holy Father. That secret refers to World War II, 1939 to 1945, as much as the Virgin Mary asked for the conversion of sinners, for Christians to pray for peace in the world, and for Russia to consecrate herself to the Immaculate Heart, a war worse than the first one came. In various countries, among them Germany, the USSR and Spain, there was going to be a persecution of all kinds against human beings. Pius XI was succeeded by Pius XII, who fought hard against Nazism. He also criticized the USSR and called for peace in the world. During World War II, most nations were involved. In several countries, instruments had been created with the aim of destroying human beings, out of pure hatred, for example, the Holocaust and the pogrom of the USSR. Subsequently, other warlike events took place, such as the Vietnam War during the Cold War, or the war in Yugoslavia in 1990s. But there remains the third mystery, which is related to the previous one. An angel with a flaming sword in his left hand, asking for pardon with a loud voice, and the Pope with several clerics climbing a mountain and being killed afterwards by the bullets and arrows of soldiers. Under the two hands of the cross were two angels, each one with a crystal jar in his hands, collecting in them the blood of the martyrs. The third mystery especially refers to the Pope St. John Paul II. It took place on October 13, 1917, when the miracle of the sun, of which we have already spoken, took place. On May 13, 1981, the Turkish gunmen shot the Holy Father. When the Pope recounted the third mystery of Fatima, he said that they managed to survive thanks to the Virgin Mary's intercession on his behalf. He also explained that thanks to Fatima, he knew he was going to suffer an attack when he was hit by Ali Arga's bullet. The Pope donated that bullet to Fatima to adorn the crown of the statue. Although the prophecies have been fulfilled over time, humanity itself does not do enough to prevent them before that time, and this could be demonstrated. The message of Fatima, received more than a century ago, can still shed light on the disturbing political and military events currently unfolding in Ukraine that has the world on edge. With regards to Ukraine, it should be noted that in May 1914, 3 years before the Virgin Mary appeared to the three little shepherds of Fatima, and according to several Ukrainian religious accounts, Our Lady also appeared to some Ukrainian peasants who received a message about the destiny that awaited their country. On that occasion, the Virgin Mary had predicted to the peasants that Ukraine would lose its sovereignty for 80 years, a period in which they would suffer relentless persecutions, and that at the end of this period, peace would return and the territory would be free. He also mentioned that a world war would be imminent and that Russia will become a godless country. Could all this be happening now? Do you think this secret or a truth or a lie? Fact that occurred and were born more than a century ago, and yet we have not avoided perhaps because of unbelief or simply lack of faith.